are back. It's Buccaneer Insider, a new week, and we've got two more great guests coming up for you. A little bit more to the coaching side this week. Killian McClatchy, Nicholas Case, as always. And like we said, we got some coaches this week. We've got Thomas T. Butters, the assistant head men's basketball coach. We got to chat with him. And then a new face, a new one here to CSU. We've got Matt Dendecker, one of the assistant coaches for the baseball team, and it was great getting to chat with them and, really getting to meet Matt and chat with him a little bit.
I really look forward to the week you're finally just like, we didn't have a great guest this week, but we did the show anyway. They all have been great guests. Don't get me wrong. They have been, and I love that because it makes our job easier. But I just want you to lead the show off one time with, it's not a great show, but here we are. You should watch anyway.
If I did, I was going to say, if I was going to do that, I should have done the one with just us.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. Yeah, that was probably
you got these two guys here. I don't really know.
These two schmucks. Who cares about these schmoes?
Exactly. But no, it was Matt Dendecker. Got a chance to meet him and kind of introduce him and, give you all a chance to kind of get to know him a little bit better since he's came in. I think he's been here, about 2.5, 3 weeks now. So he's really been – just trying to get himself settled and get himself to know the area.
Yeah, he's pretty fresh. And as you'll see in the interview, he had a cup of coffee here, but it's really his first time in Charleston. So it's really cool to be the welcome wagon for these guys. It's been a fun experience and give us the first chance to introduce them.
It really is fun. And then who else would you want on the welcome wagon than these two faces right here?
And East Bay Deli for some food.
That's true. East Bay Deli. Nice transition right there. East Bay Deli, our presenting sponsor. We want to thank them for helping us put this on each and every week. You can take out, dine in, or delivery from East Bay Deli. So we appreciate them. And we'll just get right to it. We're going to have Matt Dendecker leading things off. We've got our first guest of this week's Buccaneer Insider. It is the assistant coach for the baseball team, the newest one. I guess technically they're all new since the whole new staff coming in. We got Matt Dendecker, former major leaguer and now coach here for CSU. And Matt, how you doing? Welcome to CSU. Really, this is your first chance, I think, to really kind of introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's great to be here in Charleston finally. We've been here for just under a week now, but we're getting settled in, and we couldn't be more excited to be here and be part of the team.
Have you been to Charleston in your travels before getting this opportunity?
I've actually played when I was playing pro ball in low egg and against the Charleston River Dogs. I believe that's what it is, but hadn't really had a chance to go around the town. But from what I hear, Coach Izio sent me something how it's the number one rated city from food and travel every year for like the last 8 years. So we're excited about that, to go around and check out different hot spots and try out the food, get downtown and check that out as well. So we're ready to go and check it out.
As I always tell people, when they ask how I like living in Charleston, I say there are worse places to be stuck.
No doubt.
Very true. You definitely came to the right place for some good food, but I kind of want to get into it. And first off, really about how you came to get this job. And so we'll start off. How do you know Coach McMillan? Like, where did that relationship come from, and how did you end up getting this job?
So we have no prior connection, actually. I mean, other than being in the SEC, him coming from Ole Miss. I was at Florida the past year. Just reached out to him when I saw that he got the job, and told him about my interest in the position. We spoke over the phone for about an hour, and then we set up an interview process, and that was about 2 Zooms of interviews and applications. And after those talks, our vision and our the way we coach kind of meshed together, and there was a connection there. And then I know with his hiring of Coach Izio, the staff that he's brought in, we're confident for this year. We're excited to get started, and we're excited to do some big things here at Charleston Southern.
What was your first impression of campus and facilities?
The field's tucked away in the back there. You got the brand new, I guess a few years old, the Singleton Center. There's a lot to offer for our players there. They got a nice setup. Obviously, we're going to come in here and work hard and, add some things as we go on. But, the the setup's nice for them right now, and I think there's something we can sell to players, potential recruits coming in. So the campus is it's smaller than what I'm used to, obviously being at Florida, but it seems like a real tight-knit group here. I'm excited to get to work with all the staff as well.
I can tell you that when things are normal and students are around, it's a very fun, intimate campus.
Yeah, I think the intimacy of the campus is nice. I think it'll give an opportunity to not only the student athletes to be in their group, but reach out to other students as well, and it makes it nice for the whole college experience that you're so close to everybody.
What have your interactions been with the team so far? And, what are your first thoughts on just the players and their reaction to the new staff coming in, yourself coming in?
I mean, obviously we're in uncharted territory with the virus going on, but we've had contact through Zoom meetings. After we were all hired, we got in touch with each guy. I got to call the position guys, Coach Izio got to talk to his pitchers, and we had weekly Zooms leading up to the 4th of July, just to talk about, kind of at the beginning, it was just kind of get to know the guys. And obviously it's tough. You're behind a computer screen, you can't shake their hand or see them face to face, but it was kind of just a chance to, introduce ourselves, talk about what we're going to try to work for this upcoming year, and kind of share our vision for what we see, going forward from here on out. But, we've had about 3 or 4 Zoom meetings, some telephone calls, FaceTimes, and that's kind of what we've been able to do right now. Obviously, we're looking forward to getting on campus with all the guys as well in the next month.
And so we mentioned right off the top, former major leaguer. You had pretty solid career there up in the big leagues, moving around a little bit, played for a couple of teams, and now you're into coaching. And was that for you? Was that always kind of the path that you were planning on taking? As soon as the playing career was done, I'm going to get into coaching, or how did you come about that?
Yeah, for me, I love being on the field. I love the game of baseball. It's always been something that draws me into the game since I was a little kid. And obviously I was very fortunate to play as long as I did, playing professionally. And, once I could see that coming to an end, I kind of looked back and, thought about what I wanted to do after I was done playing. And for me, it was a no-brainer. I wanted to, stay in the game, stay on the field, and continue to do what I love.
And so how did that – you went down, you went to Florida. You were a great player there at Florida, one of the greats if you look in the history books, as you're up there in a lot of categories, and you came back. Where is a student assistant? It was at Florida, and why was it back to Florida? I was going to say, were you looking around at other places, or was it just kind of the right place at the right time kind of thing there?
Yeah, I always kept contact with the coaches there, and, they were there since I graduated and got drafted, or not graduated, since I was drafted and was playing professional baseball. When I got done playing, I knew it was time to hang up the spikes. I talked to Coach Sullivan at Florida and told him I was coming back. I had to finish my degree. I had just over a semester left, and for me, it was a no-brainer to go back and get that experience coaching with the Gators. So I went back. I was the student assistant, coached first base, worked with the outfielders. It was great. It gave me some experience. Obviously, the season was cut short, but in that short time, it made my decision easier to stay in coaching just from my experience in this past year, going through the fall practice, getting a little bit of season that we had, just bonding with those guys and seeing how how they took to the coaching that I could add to them. So it was a great experience. I finally got my degree. I guess 14 years later after I enrolled in college. So I'm excited about that to finally get that finished and get out of the classroom.
Degrees never expire as long as you get it, right?
Exactly.
What's something special that, you've had a big career, College World Series, you played in the major leagues. What's your unique thing that you can bring to these kids at Charleston Southern?
So for me, it's about energy. It's about athleticism. It's about, bringing that passion and drive to the game. And I think the hires that Coach Mack brought in with Coach Izio, and he's right along on the same page with that as well. With the pitchers, it's he's gonna bring that athleticism, that energy to the pitching side. I want to bring that to the offensive side. And once we get on the field and once we get these guys on campus, they're gonna see that, and hopefully they'll feed off that as well.
So have a little bit of fun. We mentioned you've traveled around in the major leagues. What's your favorite stadium that you've been to?
I have a couple that I really like. I've really enjoyed playing at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Just the history there. Everything's, you're driving through the neighborhood in Chicago, and then Wrigley Field just pops up, and then the stadium, the fans are right on top of you. They're heckling you, and got the ivy on the wall. That's a really memorable experience for me. And then I really like playing out in San Francisco. The stadium right on the bay there. You got the seagulls flying around, and the fans, they have a great fan base out in San Francisco. So it's fun to play there. And then, obviously I played with the Mets for a little while, so it was fun to, play in New York City and at Citi Field. So those are probably the three of my favorites that I got to play in.
Do you remember your first major league at bat?
Man, my first major league at bat, I do. I remember. My first hit was a little more memorable. My first at bat was a strikeout. So my first game, I was 0 for 5. I had to clear that game. But my second game, I had my first hit. Was against the Nationals, and then the game after that, I had my first home run. So it was, obviously you get called up. There's a whirlwind of emotions. I want to go out there and play well. I had first game was not good, but cleared that, and had a good couple games after that with my first hit and first home run.
Yeah, what was that like, getting that phone call saying, "Hey, we're calling you up to the majors. Be ready to go. You're playing tomorrow in the bigs."
Yeah, it was a rush of emotions for sure. We were out in Colorado Springs playing against I think it's the Brewers organization, and after the game, our coach was Wally Backman at the time. He called me and 2 other guys into the office and just talked to how the Mets just made a trade, and all 3 of us were going up to the big leagues. For me, it was my first time. Those 2 guys, it wasn't their first, so it was a really cool moment. Called my parents, wasn't my wife at the time, but called her, and then just probably didn't sleep more than an hour that night. Got on the plane about 5 a.m., get across the country. So not much sleep that first night.
Well, that explains the 0 for 5. You're tired. It's not.
Exactly.
Well, one of the things, what's one of the things that you're most looking forward to, just being, obviously you're on campus, but what are you most looking forward to with getting everybody back on there and hopefully getting back to a little bit of normalcy and playing some baseball?
Yeah, really just connecting with all these guys on the team here. We talk a lot about, building relationships within the team. And for me, that's what it's all about. Build these relationships, communicate, building trust with these guys. And I think it makes guys more comfortable when they get to the field and they know they can be themselves, they can communicate. And, when you have that comfort level and you build those relationships, then you'll start to see some success.
I asked Coach Mack this. You mentioned new to Charleston and wanting to explore the food scene. If you had to pick one group of food, what are you going for?
I'm a big burger guy. A lot of times I'll go to a restaurant and I just want to try their burger. So I'm sure there's plenty of places here to find a good burger. I love a good steak, but I'm always drawn to a burger for whatever reason. And then I'll branch out a little bit from there.
Burgers are kind of like wings. You have to work really hard to screw them up.
Exactly.
If you order the burger, you're probably getting something good. It's a little comforting, but it's also, you never know how surprised you're going to be with how good it might be beyond just a burger. Because the worst case, you're getting a burger. Great.
Yeah, burger, fries. You said wings too. That's another one. So I'm looking forward to getting out and trying to find a good burger here in Charleston.
I was gonna say you got Nick Case. Nick Case can be your regular or your resident food connoisseur. He can point you in the right direction of a lot of things.
I've heard this. So
the first meeting we had, me and Christine met with Jeff Barber. We had breakfast, and he said he had a list of like 40 places that he needed to try, restaurants, and I was like, can you just forward me that list? So he just texted me over that list after we ate breakfast, and so we're gonna start knocking those out and checking them out.
I'll see what I can come up with for you too. I've been here since 1996. I've seen this place grow, and I've like I said, I've earned this. I'm well versed.
Well, I think I've got one more for you, and really it's just kind of an overarching. And you've come in, you all have a brand new coaching staff, and I think it's something that we mentioned to Coach Mack a little bit. But when you come in, what do you want to see from this baseball program? 5 years down the line, what do you guys want to build and establish? And for you, for those outfielders, for that offense, what do you want to try to build?
I think a mindset that these guys want to build is just, a competitive nature in them, and they just go out there and compete day after day. For me, that's what it's about, being able to go out and compete. You may not have your best stuff, but you can, learn to win with, your C game. When you don't have your A stuff, you go out there and you just compete and you grind it out. I think when you look back, if you go down 5 years down the road, if you have that mentality, I think you're going to have a successful track record.
I want to dip my toe one more time into your pro career, and then we'll drop it because I'm sure you're tired of talking about it, but it's pretty cool. Best athlete you've played against. It can be pitcher, it can be hitter, it can be fielder, and just who's that guy that you're going to say, yeah, I played against him to your kids?
Best athlete. Man. I'm going through the years here and see. I mean, obviously, one of the best players I played was with Bryce Harper. He won the MVP the year I was with him in 15, and that was a special season to watch that play. I mean, he's obviously a great athlete and probably up there, but I'm going to go back to college. One of the probably the best athlete I've ever played baseball with on the field is he didn't play professional baseball, but he played professional football. It was Riley Cooper. At Florida, so he was a right fielder for us. I was the center, and he was the strongest and fastest and most athletic guy I've ever been on a field with. You can see why that translated into a NFL career, but baseball wise, I think he could have made it in baseball as well if he would have chosen that route.
I had a moment where I thought you were going to say Tebow.
I didn't play obviously baseball with him in college, but when he signed with the Mets in 18, I was with the Mets as well, back with them, and we were locker mates in spring training for a little bit. So I didn't get to know him as well in Florida, but I got to know him a little bit while we played with the Mets.
I know he came through here with the River Dogs, and I worked for them occasionally, and it was as packed as I've ever seen the stadium. Everyone was excited to see him. So, and from what I heard, nothing but great things. So
great things, yeah, great guy. He sends a great message out, and does a lot for the community, a lot for the groups that he works for.
All right. Well, Nick, I don't know if you've got anything else. I think that's pretty much it.
No, I know you literally just arrived about a week ago. You settled on a house and everything, so we really appreciate you taking the time to, in a busy schedule, to take some time to talk to us. No
problem, guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. Look forward to seeing you guys in person and getting to know you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Congratulations on the new house, getting settled, and welcome to Charleston Southern. We appreciate you coming on, Matt.
Thanks, guys.
That was Matt Dendecker, assistant coach for the baseball team, one of the newest guys on campus. And like we said, it was great getting to know him, kind of get to be the welcome wagon, welcome him to Charleston, and really get to know him and his background a little bit more as well.
I really did feel guilty asking him about all these Major League Baseball things, because it's a big chapter of your life, but it's a chapter of your life that's passed, and I'm sure he's kind of tired of talking about it. So I promise you, Matt, if you watch this, we will not bring it up again. That's probably a lie. It'll probably come up again, but not in as much.
Yeah.
So yeah. I know Derek Bennington wanted me to ask, one of our SIDs wanted me to ask him something about an interaction with Papelbon and and other members of the Nationals when he was on the team, but yeah, I'm not going to do that. Sorry, Derek.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, Derek, you can ask that one yourself.
Right? Come on, dude. Do it in person. Do it by yourself.
Yeah, no, it was great getting to chat with Matt, and looking forward to being able to get onto campus and spend some time with him and be around him down the baseball field. And yeah, so can't forget East Bay Deli, presenting sponsor. Really appreciate everything that they do. And now we're going to get on to our second interview of this week. It is the assistant head coach for the men's basketball team, T. Butters. We'll welcome in our next guest for this week's Buccaneer Insider. It's the assistant head basketball coach, T. Butters. Thomas, you go by T. So welcome on. How you doing? How you been? I know things have been pretty crazy the last couple months. So what's been up with you?
Yeah, it's definitely been crazy times. Thanks for having me on here. I'm excited. I've watched a lot of these. I know Nick, the Shaq photo back there, we don't have to get into that story. I've heard that one. But just excited to talk with you guys. And obviously it's been different times over the last 4 or 5 months, trying to make it as normal as possible, but just staying busy as much as I can. So
how have you been? Go ahead, Kelly. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead. Oh. I mean, it seems like you were going to continue on, but all right. No, I mean, just kind of getting right off the bat for people that don't really know, obviously there's a big difference in all of the sports and what assistant coaches do. And so what is your main task? What's your main role with the basketball program?
So I've been here for a while. I started in the video role and have worked my way up to where I am now. So going into my 7th year. So I've been able to take on a lot of different tasks, and unfortunately some of those have stuck with me, some of the ones that I'd love to pass on. But I do a lot with obviously recruiting, player, which is 24/7 all the time, player development. I do a lot with our offense, myself and Coach Nimley, so working on stuff with our offense, as well as scheduling. If we want to talk about that, scheduling is brutal. It's probably the hardest part of my job, is getting the teams that we're going to play from year to year in the non-conference. And then just anything you can do to help around with Colton, picking up some slack, or with take things off Coach Radeb's plate as much as I can. So anything that I can dive into outside of those things, equipment, gear, stuff like that. So
let's get into scheduling, because it's a thing that you really don't think too much about. The games just kind of appear if you're the fan. What approach do you have for finding teams? Do you have ideas in mind, or do you just kind of see what's out there?
Yeah, so we have set different types of games. We obviously have the high major, the bye games. You have the like opponents that you play home and home. And then you have the non-Division I games that we're paying to come play at our arena. So it's 3 different categories, but I'm telling you, it's worse than recruiting. Coaches lie a lot. They tell you they don't have a date to play this game, and then you hear that they schedule somebody else on that date. Nobody really shoots it straight. So you try to find home and home series with teams that are like you, but that you think you can really compete with and have a chance to win, especially when you play them at home. The high major games, you're trying to find, as much as you can, regional games. We like to try to find games where we can take our guys back, like to areas we recruit. So we have Georgia on the schedule, plans from Athens. So we'll go there. We got Ty from Mississippi. We're going to play Ole Miss. So we try to get guys back to their states and in areas that we're going to recruit a lot as well. So that's a little challenging, trying to find ones that fit and not traveling all across the country, trying to limit, flying to the West Coast as much as we can.
What's the one place you haven't scheduled that you'd love to get on schedule?
Oh, that's tough. We played Michigan State last year. I hadn't been there, and being at Clemson, all the ACC schools I've been to. We went out to Stanford when I first got here. I would love Kansas or Kentucky, one of those 2, or even Louisville. One of those 3 places I've never been to would be, a lot of tradition and history in those places. Tough teams to play, obviously, but it'd be those are fun venues, I would think, to go back or go over and play a game at.
So I think I've got one more schedule, and then hopefully I think we'll be able to move on from that and your head and settle down a little bit. But yeah, obviously it was just announced just a little bit ago, that big stretch, a little bit of a tournament. What was the process about getting that all put together?
So that it was a struggle, and we were looking for two big high major games. It kind of fell in our lap. A coach at another school took the job, and they were scheduled to play in the tournament with those teams, and he didn't want to do it when he got the job, so he backed out. And found out about it and jumped in there as quick as we could. And it was about a 10-day process of trying to convince the teams that we're the team that they should put in that tournament. So going through Georgia and SMU and those guys, it wasn't the best probably from a strategic standpoint. We got to play a lot of high big time games basically back to back with 1 day off in between. But, it allows us to go challenge ourselves. Basically, it's going to be a tournament format where you only have 1 day off and you play another game, and 1 day off and play another game. And so we're going to get to do that early in the season. And we got a group of seniors that, played a lot of college basketball, so it'll be nothing new to them. But, like I said, it allows Flame to get home to Georgia. That was a big part of it. And then, I think the Wofford game is anytime you can play those in-state teams is also a bonus. So it was nice to get them on the schedule.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you'd also hope, bring in some more eyes as well, playing some of those bigger name schools around the country as well.
For sure. Anytime you can challenge yourself and play those teams, and, you get a Ole Miss back in my first season and get a win, or you beat Missouri like we did this past year, it just generates a lot of buzz, in recruiting and graphics, and, the recruits are tuned into the game. So when you can knock off a Power 5 team like that, it's always – a double whammy for us, so we can get a win and get out of there. So,
as I said to Flan, we'll see how many times he can drag Killian back onto SportsCenter this coming year.
I hope it's once a week. I hope it's the highlight blocks and the above the rim plays he makes. Hopefully he can get you back on SportsCenter with some of your calls. So.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be upset at all. I mean, I love watching Flan play basketball, dude. He's an animal out there.
Yeah, dynamic, high motor, a lot of passion, a lot of energy. He plays with, his heart on his sleeve, so it's fun to watch.
It certainly does. So you mentioned this senior class coming together, and obviously last year was really tough with all the injuries and just everything that went on. What are you looking forward to most? You got this senior class coming through. You got a really, honestly, I think a pretty high expectation going into this next season.
Yeah, so it's rare, at least in today's age, where we got 4 guys that have been here all 4 years with Sean and Flan and Didi and Ty, and 3 of them, Sean was injured last year, and so he'll be back, and the other 3 were 3 leading scorers on the season, and you're returning all those guys. And like you said, with the injuries, I thought we had a real good shot last year as well. And it was just one of those seasons. I've never been a part of something like it where I don't think anybody has, where you lose that many bodies. And, you got Coach and Emily having to get out there and practice and fill in for guys and make it work. But, the expectations I think will be high. We're obviously excited for what we have, excited for the freshmen we have coming in, the guys that were hurt last year. But it all starts with those senior guys, with, leading those guys. And I think they're at a point now where they'll be able to push those guys behind them and coach them and teach them, and a lot less of us having to do it when you have guys like Flan and Didi leading the way.
We've been at CSU for about the same amount of time. How does this team potentially rank among the teams that you've seen?
So my first year was that Sa and Arlon Harper senior year for those guys, and it was the same thing. They had 4 or 5 guys that had been together for a long time. I think it rivals that team. It looks different in terms of, I think we'll have more depth and more length. That team was obviously just could shoot the lights out of the ball, and we shot 100 every time. Every shot down the floor was a 3 from what I could, pulling from wherever. But I think we'll rival that team in terms of what the expectation should be. I don't think anything less than winning the conference would be expected from us. And there's a lot of talented guys from the freshman class all the way to the senior class. And so you just got to hope with this pandemic we can get them here, or they're here now, but get them out on the court and get them to gel and fit. And the sky's the limit, I think.
So you mentioned some of the incoming freshmen. Well, we asked Flan about it, kind of how his approach in being a player and, trying to welcome those guys in as a coaching staff. What do you guys try to do to help get those new guys kind of acclimated and up to speed?
Yeah, so normally in any other normal year, they're going to be around us, a lot more. They're going to come over for academic meetings. They're going to, the first stretch is just making sure they can find where their class is, how to get on Blackboard, just the basic stuff like that. But from a basketball standpoint, them being able to work out with the older guys, get in the film room with us, and sit down and watch what we're looking to do offensively and defensively and just really study the film. We're having to do that over Zoom. So I tell a lot of people, I don't think a lot has changed in what we do. It's just how we do it now. I'm doing the exact same stuff I would have been doing this time last summer. Only difference is we can't get on the floor yet with our guys, but the rest of it you can do via Zoom, academic checkups on Zoom or FaceTime. And so we're keeping up with those guys pretty good. And so we'll just jump right in with the freshmen now that they're here on campus.
How hard was that adjustment?
I didn't find it too difficult. I actually, at the beginning, the change was nice because it was just something different than I've been doing the same thing you do it every day, every year. And then now all of a sudden you got to kind of shift gears and try to figure something out. So it was cool kind of learn for me. I like learning, how to still service your guys and take care of them and make sure everything is good with them from a distance and online. So it was, challenging, but it also provided a way to, and especially like in recruiting, we've done a zillion Zoom meetings with recruits. And if this pandemic ended tomorrow, we would continue the Zoom. And we found it to be really, it's been great for us in recruiting. And so it's something we'll continue even on past the pandemic. So it's been cool to find things like that will work as we go into the future.
Yeah. How much of the adjustments that you've made do you think will be sticking around going forward?
I definitely, we've done a lot of learning from other programs over the last few months. Kind of, we'll get on with another staff and learn about what they do via Zoom. And so that's something that can continue to just pick people's brains, over Zoom or FaceTime. This is, fairly personable to do this instead of a text or a phone conversation. Definitely, we did care meetings with our kids, our players and their families, and some academic staff and our strength staff, just to catch the whole family up on what's going on in the student athlete's life. And that's something we'll continue for sure to keep doing those. And definitely the Zoom recruiting and the FaceTime recruiting. I mean, I was using FaceTime a lot before, but being able to Zoom a whole family with a mom and dad and the kid and brothers and sisters and see them in their house or at the gym or wherever they might be. And we'll continue to do that as well.
So I want to go back in your career. You mentioned you went to Clemson, and so you didn't play at Clemson. You're actually a manager on the team. You've gone from a manager at Clemson to now, an assistant head coach. What got you down that path, and what have you kind of picked up along the way?
So I tell a lot. I say young guys. I still consider myself hopefully a young guy, but I was at Clemson at the ACC level, student manager, and then grad assistant on their staff there. And I took a 2-year hiatus and got a job working at Morgan Stanley, and tried to find a way back in, and was looking at a bunch of options. And I thought Charleston Southern was a good place where if I busted my tail, I could work my way up here. And it's really hard to get, if you didn't play, to get on the court as an assistant where you're recruiting and you're, Coach Nimley played it at a high level, and he's been around basketball and played it for so long. It was just natural for him to step back in. But for somebody like me, it's a lot of work, a lot of trust for a coach to put somebody that didn't play or they didn't play for him or they didn't know out there on the floor. So it was something where I had to come here and kind of show Coach Radeba my work ethic and my determination and all those things to get to the spot that I'm at now.
And so I'm assuming, did you play in high school? And, once you got to Clemson, it was kind of one of those things like, hey, I still want to be around the game. Like, well, what led you to, to be that student manager there?
Yeah, it's really weird. I played 2 years in high school. I was not very good. I hit a growth spurt. Actually, I was like 5'6" when I went to college, and I'm 6'1", 6'2" now. So I grew a lot in college. So was a late bloomer. But I'd always been around basketball. I grew up in North Carolina with the ACC, all the ACC rivalries, and family members worked at institutions in the state. So it just had always been around the sport. And when I got to Clemson, I was just trying to find a niche that I liked, whether it be intramurals or club sports or fraternities or what it might be, and was drawn to the basketball program and started as a manager and loved it from day one. And so just the relationships of being around those guys. The same thing I like about being a coach now is just getting to know the players and being around them. From day one down there, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
So let's go back a bit. You had your growth spurt in college. So you're saying if I go back to college, maybe I'll finally have my growth spurt and leave 5'6" behind.
Yeah, who knows? You could be, we could be suiting you up in a jersey and getting you out there shooting some threes. And I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
freshman year of college, I think that's, if you can go back there, maybe you could pick up a few inches.
Work for me. Hit the calf a lot more, right?
I don't know what it was. I think my dad's 6'8", so he's a big man. He grew late as well. His senior year of high school, 6 inches. So I guess it's just late bloomers in the family.
We mentioned when we were talking to Flan a little while ago, we asked him about Coach Radeba and his skills on the floor. So, and he said that Coach doesn't really have much there. So out of the coaching staff, obviously Sa is far and away up there at the top. But after that, who's next when it comes to being out there on the hardwood?
Yeah, I thought you were going to ask me to critique Coach his skills, and I was going to hope that he wasn't tuned in. No,
I wouldn't put you on the spot like that.
I like to think I put myself there next for sure. I give Sa a hard time. I think in shooting and some of those aspects, I talk a lot of junk, so I let him know that I'm right behind him. So if he ever takes a couple weeks off, I'm knocking on the door trying to catch him. But no, we have a good, even JC and Colton, all those guys. Colton played in junior college, and JC played for us at CSU. So I mean, we have some coaches that can play the game, and like I was saying, I think Coach will look to hire guys that play for us as much as we can, if they're the right fit. And so we should have at least some talent. We play the manager basketball games when we go on the road, and so our staff, like Coach Nemley's out there scoring 55 every night when we play those games at Michigan State and all those places. So it's a lot of fun.
I was going to say, you got to keep up the high level manager games, right?
For sure. That's what Coach Nemley's biggest thing when we talk about who we're bringing in for a new spot is how good is he? Because he doesn't want to see the team fall off. So Coach Houston, we got to get him out there on the court and see if he's can pick up some skills so we can throw him in the mix when it comes that time.
How unfair is it when you guys are playing these games? Do you just ever kind of sit back and just watch Sa and go, man, I feel bad for whoever's trying to guard this guy?
Yeah, the majority of the time, you just if even if it's a close game or not, you just throw the ball aside and you go stand in the corner and just tell them to go to work. We played a few teams though that have had former guys that are that played at high level. Michigan State might have a guy that played for Michigan State, and so he'll have his hands full. But I tell everybody all the time, if he was 6 foot, he wouldn't be at CSU right now. He'd still be playing probably in the NBA somewhere with his skill set.
Yeah, we'll ask people that have been at CSU for a while about the best athlete they've seen, and I think Sa is probably it for me. That guy's a magical player. I've never seen anybody his size hit shots from just astronomical places.
Yeah, his confidence is, and there's no ego. He just is one of the most confident and calm guys on the court. And you'd be down 10. You look up at the score and you're up 1, and he's hit 3 threes and pump faked and got to the free throw line from 30 feet, and you're right back in the game. He's one of those guys that could just make it happen.
So, I mean, we're having a lot of fun. Another one. So, at all those guys, you've been around all these guys, especially the senior class. Which one of them they just drive you crazy? And not in a bad way, but like which one of those guys you just kind of get there and you're just like, oh
man. I'm probably gonna go with Ty Jones. Him or of the senior guys, Terrence Porter gives me some problems with the old freshman class, now sophomore or redshirt sophomore for him. a redshirt freshman for him. But yeah, definitely Ty Jones. And in games, doing the offensive stuff, I'll call something for Ty, and he'll do something well. And then the next time down the floor, he starts getting a little fatigued, and then he starts trying to do some stuff outside of his game. And so we have some conversations on the bench that hopefully not out of too much frustration, but keeping up with him, he's a handful. So Ty Jones for sure.
Well, his problem is, and he told us in the office, he wants to keep his average up, so he's only taking shots he feels confident in. It's too selfish.
It is. He's in his head too much, and so he's at his best when he just gets in the groove. But we gotta have some tough conversations with Ty Jones for sure.
What's it like being down there? A lot of people, obviously, when you're watching a basketball game on TV, you can see the coaches down there in the huddle and, you're scribbling around on the board. What is it really like down there, being involved in that huddle during a game, especially, like a tight game, close one right near the end?
It's weird. I don't know if this is everybody's feeling, but for me, things kind of slowed down. I don't know why. People are screaming, and I don't hear. My wife could be yelling right behind the bench, and I don't know. I don't know that she's there. I guess so in tune into the game and what's going on. But there's definitely situations in the huddle, and I'm a big guy. I like to, when you're talking about plays late game and stuff like that, I'm just on the side. I coach and think I know the best answer for it, but Flan's out there playing, and he might see something differently. So to open up the communication with those guys and with Dede and see if they see something. And so, you got to make sure you're relaxed and calm enough to be able to have those conversations with those guys. But I can, it's definitely fast paced. There's a lot of pressure when you get late in games, and you want to make the right calls and right decisions. But, I think if you talk to those guys and figure out the best plan. And we've practiced all those situations anyways in practice. And so you're really just going through what you've already practiced. And so I enjoy it, but it definitely slows down for me in those moments.
Nick, I don't know. I mean, it's been great getting to catch up with you. I can't wait to finally be able to get back on campus, and I can hopefully maybe you guys can give me some pointers on how to shoot the basketball. My favorite thing. I remember one of my best friends in high school. He once told me I had the worst jump shot he'd ever seen. So.
So we'll see if we can figure something out. Come on by, and maybe Coach Nimley will give you some pointers.
You haven't seen mine. You have not seen my jump shot.
We might have to have a shoot off between the two of you guys one day coming up.
We'll put that on ESPN Plus. They're I actually have one for you, and it's one I've asked but every basketball person, but we've also talked about this guy. So The Last Dance, what did you think?
Phenomenal. I got some cool stories. I won't go into them too much. I worked at a golf course where my family lived when I was growing up, and Jordan played there a lot. So got to spend a little bit of time with him, post rounds, where he would be enjoying a drink and a cigar in the men's locker room, and could go sit down there with him for an hour or two. And he's just telling stories, and you're just a fly on the wall basically. So I got some cool stories from him, but I think The Last Dance was, it was out. There's a lot of stuff, I was 6, 7, 8 years old. So I got really vague memories of sitting in the living room watching the Utah Jazz game and stuff like that with my dad and his friends. So just to go back through that and see all the stuff with Dennis Rodman and the craziness that they had going on, and be able to be as good as they were. I'm a huge Jordan fan, obviously. So I was glued to the TV for all those.
Yeah, and I think I've only got a couple years on you. I was, 6 when that whole thing started, and I would have been 12 when the reign ended, 12 or so. So we understood the hype about Jordan, but we loved him, but we don't remember any of it. We just remember him being this thing. So it was really fascinating to go back and watch the memories that I'd lost because I was too young, and just remind you of, this is why he was the thing that he was. It wasn't just because it was manufactured. He was that. Yeah,
worldwide phenomenon. He was obviously the greatest ever, and arguably in any sport in terms of his appeal and his determination, skill set, all of it. He had it all, the total package. And you remember him winning, and you remember the shots, but watch all those little things about it was cool to go back and relive all that.
I'll leave you with one more. I kind of remembered as Nick brought up the Last Dance. So if you could play one-on-one with anybody, we'll take out Jordan. But if you could play one-on-one against anybody, just play with them, hang out, just learn from them, anything like that, who would you pick?
Obviously, Kobe would have been my first choice if that was still possible. Grant Hill, I would probably pick Grant Hill. Growing up a Duke guy and watching him when he was at Duke, and he was on track to be, I think, one of the, you talk about one of the top 15, 20 guys if it wasn't for injuries. And so he would be a cool one. I think that'd be a cool one to just talk with, but also get to play one-on-one against. Be pretty cool.
Yeah, people forget the trajectory he was on, kind of like Ken Griffey Jr. They were on pace to be one of the all-time greats until injuries really hit them.
Yeah, Ken Griffey's another. If it was a baseball, that'd be, if I could have batting practice, he would be the guy. They were big personalities, huge talents, and obviously got derailed with some injuries and stuff, but seemed like outstanding guys. So it would be cool about those guys.
According to Fred, if you talk to Applin, he might be able to do something for you.
Oh, I might have to. Shoot, he can probably make it work for a couple thousand people out there. I know he's got the notebook of connections, so I'll have to get with him and see if we can schedule something.
We're definitely playing the game when we can all get back together, where we're just taking his phone, zipping through it, and landing on it and seeing who we can call.
I'm with it. Let me know. I'll be there.
Excellent.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you taking some time and coming on. And, it's great getting to talk to you again. Everything's been, like we said, it's been a while and everything's been kind of weird, but hopefully we're starting to try and get ourselves back to normal. We can get ourselves back on campus.
For sure. Thank you, guys.
That was assistant head men's basketball coach T. Butters. Great getting to chat with him. Great getting to catch up. And it was really interesting. It's always fun talking to these assistant coaches because you really get to see a little bit more kind of the behind the scenes stuff and how much that they really do and how much goes into running a team and running a program.
Yeah, it's not just Barclay drawing up the plays and telling them what to do on game day. It's saying it takes a village. It takes a village to run a team, and you got to peek into it with Butters of everything he does, which is a lot. And that's a lot on one person's shoulders, and that's just as much spread out to everyone's shoulders throughout everything.
I think personally one of my things that I found very interesting was just the way that they go about the scheduling for basketball. It's something that you don't really ever think about, and you just see these games and I think in people's that are outside of the sporting world and being right there, they're just kind of like, oh, well, that's cool. That just kind of popped up, but you kind of got a little bit of an idea of how those games come to be.
Yeah, it's not like I can just say, hey guys, I want to go to Pittsburgh. Can we request a game at Pitt? No, there's logistics and there's thought and there's a process put into all this. And I think it's great, as they said, they're rewarding their seniors in Ty and Flan and getting to play around their home. And if that opportunity comes up, they will put that out there. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, the dark underworld of college basketball scheduling. But yeah, either way, we appreciate him for spending some time with us, and we appreciate all of you for spending some more of your time with us this week, as it was another fun week. We're getting closer and closer to hopefully getting a little bit back more towards normalcy. But yeah, I don't know, Nick, you got anything to leave us on?
Go sports. No, it's we're closer and closer to that point where we can Zoom is great. It's a great thing, but man, I look forward to these interviews in person.
Yeah, hopefully soon we can get there, but remember, wear your mask, stay safe, stay healthy, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My partner, Nicholas Case, Killian McClatchy here. We'll see you all next time.